In a world often dulled by the mundane, where the rhythm of daily life can lull us into a spiritual stupor, there exist whispers of a deeper truth, a hidden melody beneath the surface of what we perceive. Many find solace and joy in the simple act of listening to music, allowing upbeat tunes to lift their spirits. Yet, what if these familiar anthems, these seemingly innocuous songs, held within their very essence a revelation, a message intended to awaken the slumbering soul? What if, upon closer inspection, the stories behind the notes and lyrics unveiled a spiritual battle, a testament to the enduring power of faith in a world often hostile to its light? This is not merely about music. It's about the echoes of the divine woven into the fabric of human creativity, a tapestry where secular sounds sometimes inadvertently carry sacred undertones. Prepare to journey into the heart of these musical narratives, where the veil between the ordinary and the extraordinary is lifted, and the true meaning, often shadowed by earthly interpretations, is brought into the illuminating glow of Christian understanding. Before we get to the main part, we would like to ask for a little support from you. A like and a subscription would be the best gratitude. Thank you. The siren call of the band Heart, born from the fervent spirits of sisters Anne and Nancy Wilson, resonated through the burgeoning rock scene, a testament to their inherent talent and unwavering determination. From childhood, their voices intertwined in harmonious union, a prelude to the symphonic journey they were destined to embark upon. As mere girls, at the tender ages of 8 and 13, they embraced the guitar, not merely as an instrument, but as a vessel for their burgeoning artistic souls. They meticulously absorbed the popular melodies of the era, from the insightful narratives of Paul Simon to the revolutionary harmonies of the Beatles, discerning within themselves a profound gift for musical composition. This nascent talent blossomed into an undeniable calling, propelling them towards careers in the tumultuous realm of the music industry. The spiritual currents of the 1960s, a decade of profound societal shifts and burgeoning countercultural movements, undoubtedly influenced their creative genesis. Anne's path intersected with Steve Fossen and Roger Fisher while she performed with a band aptly named A Boy and His Dog. Fossen and Fisher, themselves members of White Heart, a name perhaps ironically hinting at a spiritual purity they would later diverge from, rebranded their collective as Hocus Pocus after Anne joined their ranks. The very name change, from a straightforward descriptor to one evoking mystical incantations, suggests an early flirtation with the esoteric, a subtle departure from the more grounded, potentially spiritually aligned origins of White Heart. Anne's burgeoning relationship with Roger Fisher's brother led her to Vancouver, a move that initiated a pilgrimage for the other band members, culminating in Nancy's pivotal arrival in 1974. It was in this new setting that Nancy and Roger Fisher's romantic bond intertwined with their creative endeavors, forging a sound that was both revolutionary and deeply evocative. Their unique fusion of folk music's introspective storytelling and hard rock's raw power set them apart, a musical anomaly in a male-dominated industry. The sisters, fronting a rock band, a truly audacious act for the time, became unwitting pioneers, their success a defiant challenge to the established order. The year 1975 brought a divine alignment of opportunity, an opening act for the iconic Rod Stewart in Montreal. Their performance was not merely a display of musical prowess, it was an anointing, a moment when their raw talent captivated the masses. Instantaneously, they were propelled into the unforgiving glare of the spotlight. The media, ever hungry for novelty, and rock aficionados, eager for fresh sounds, clamored for more, recognizing the sisters as harbingers of change for women in the rock music industry. Yet, with every ascent comes the inevitable descent of criticism. Detractors, clinging to antiquated notions of gender roles in music, scoffed at the idea of a female-fronted band. However, the sisters, fortified by an inner resolve, chose to disregard these unholy whispers, focusing instead on their God-given musical gifts, determined to silence the cynics through sheer artistic merit. Their debut album, Dreamboat Annie, released in 1976, was a resounding testament to their unwavering spirit. The track Magic Man soared to number 9 on the Billboard Hot 100, undeniably cementing their place in the industry. But success, particularly for those daring to defy convention, often invites vitriol. They endured a barrage of venomous comments and unjust criticism, primarily from men within the industry who stubbornly resisted the notion of women achieving such monumental success. This ingrained misogyny, rooted in fear and insecurity, became the crucible in which their most iconic work was forged. One particular act of malice, an utterly depraved attempt at public humiliation, inadvertently etched Hart's name into the annals of music history forever. A male journalist, his intent clearly to debase Nancy, spewed a wildly inappropriate joke, crudely referencing the Dreamboat Annie album cover. The image depicted Anne and Nancy posed back to back, their shoulders modestly exposed, a pose of artistic vulnerability twisted into an object of lewd speculation. The journalist, with a smirk of perverse satisfaction, inquired about Anne's lover. Anne, innocent in her understanding, assumed he referred to Rick Fisher, her then-new paramour. "Oh yeah, Mike, he's great," she responded, her voice lightly laced with affection. His chilling retort, "No, I mean your sister," was a grotesque attempt to derail their nascent career, to reduce their artistic endeavors to mere sexual objectification. But in the divine tapestry of human experience, even the darkest intentions can be transmuted into something powerful and redemptive. This vile comment, rather than crushing their spirits, ignited a righteous fire within the sisters. They channeled their indignation, their fury, their righteous anger into the lyrics of Barracuda, a song that remains an enduring anthem of defiance against oppression. They believed, with profound conviction, that the song's widespread success stemmed from its universal resonance. The daily encounters with barracudas, those malicious and venomous individuals who seek to undermine and destroy. Barracuda, therefore, became more than just a song. It became a spiritual balm, a musical shield against the slings and arrows of negative comments, empowering listeners to remain steadfast on their own paths. The hallowed halls of music stores sometimes hold unspoken rules, whispered traditions passed down through generations of weary employees. One such unwritten decree forbids the impromptu strumming of Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven by prospective guitar buyers. While a casual observer might attribute this prohibition to an esoteric connection to the occult, a popular misconception that fueled a moral panic, the truth is far more prosaic, yet equally illustrative of human nature. An overwhelming saturation, a collective fatigue from hearing countless novice guitarists mangle its iconic opening notes. Nevertheless, this 8-minute epic remains the most requested track in radio history, a timeless standard against which all other rock anthems are measured by discerning aficionados. The opening arpeggios, instantly recognizable, possess an almost ethereal quality, drawing the listener into a narrative journey through a landscape of existential uncertainty, where the protagonist grapples with the profound search for meaning. While rock lyrics are often cloaked in poetic ambiguity, Stairway to Heaven boldly declares its theme of spiritual awakening and the urgency of choice with lines like, "There's still time to change the road you're on," and "Your stairway lies on the whispering wind." These are not mere poetic musings. They are urgent invitations to introspection, a call to consider the trajectory of one's life. However, in the early 1980s, a period marked by profound social anxieties and a resurgent fundamentalist fervor, certain individuals and groups launched shocking accusations against the band and this particular song. This era, now infamously recalled as the Satanic Panic, saw some religious factions become consumed by the notion that musicians and other influential figures were clandestine agents of Satanism, their art a conduit for diabolical influence. Despite Stairway to Heaven having been released a full decade prior, a radio preacher named Michael Mills emerged in 1991, making a sensational claim. He had discovered an alarming message embedded within one of the song's sections. He asserted that when the lyrics, "If there's a bustle in your hedgerow, don't be alarmed now," were played backward, a sinister message emerged, subtly encouraging listeners to worship the devil. Mills's claims were swiftly amplified by powerful voices within the Christian broadcasting sphere, notably Paul Crouch of the Trinity Broadcasting Network, as well as the Parents Music Resource Center. This phenomenon of concealing backward messages in songs, dubbed backmasking, became a widespread obsession. Soon, people across the globe were meticulously playing their vinyl records in reverse, frantically searching for hidden instructions in the music of countless artists. The impact on Led Zeppelin's fanbase was profound and, for many, deeply unsettling. Numerous fans of the era have since confessed to abandoning the band's music altogether, their record collections gathering dust, never to be expanded again, consumed by a genuine fear of subliminal spiritual corruption. In schools, children were sternly warned of this supposed deception, explicitly discouraged from listening to rock and heavy metal, genres deemed gateways to malevolent forces. Other bands, from the seemingly innocuous Beatles to the psychedelic Pink Floyd, the Poetic Eagles, the rebellious Rolling Stones, and the ethereal Jefferson Starship, also faced similar accusations. Yet, despite this spiritual onslaught, Led Zeppelin's legacy remained unblemished, their iconic status as one of the greatest rock bands in history enduring the test of time, a testament to the resilience of true artistry against unfounded accusations. There's a curious allure to songs that, on the surface, exude an infectious joy, their melodies vibrant and instruments playfully arranged, only to reveal a profound melancholy, a darker truth, upon a deeper examination of their lyrical content. Don McLean's American Pie, penned in 1971, is a quintessential example of this dichotomy. Featured on the album of the same name, which soared to the pinnacle of the Billboard 200 chart, its widespread popularity belied a deeply personal and poignant narrative. Few realize that the entire album is a heartfelt dedication to McLean's musical idol, Buddy Holly, a testament to the profound impact of loss on artistic expression. McLean's relationship with death was shaped by a peculiar and unsettling event in his youth. At the tender age of 15, he experienced what he describes as a premonition, a chilling foreboding of his father's imminent passing. Distraught, he ran to his grandmother, seeking solace and validation for his unsettling vision. Understandably, she dismissed his fears, attempting to console him with reassurances. Yet, just a few days later, his father tragically collapsed before him, succumbing to a sudden heart attack. This profound tragedy cast a long shadow over McLean's life, and for 2 years, he wrestled with the suffocating weight of his grief. At the age of 24, McLean poured his intricate tapestry of emotion and observation into American Pie. Its enigmatic and ambiguous lyrics sparked countless theories, each attempting to unravel its true meaning. In the past, when pressed about its significance, McLean would offer a sardonic retort. "It means I'll never have to work again." A wry acknowledgement of the song's monumental commercial success and the financial freedom it bestowed upon him. However, he has since admitted the song's deeply biographical nature, confirming that the opening lines are a dual lament, mourning either his father's passing or the tragic plane crash on February 3, 1959, that claimed the lives of Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and J.P. Richardson, the Big Bopper. Holly, a guiding star in McLean's nascent musical journey, was mourned with a profound sense of personal loss. The song's symbolic references have also been a source of endless speculation. The jester mentioned in the lyrics was widely believed to represent Bob Dylan, who, by then, had surpassed Elvis Presley, the self-proclaimed king of rock and roll, in cultural significance. McLean, however, always remained tight-lipped about the song's true meaning, preferring to allow listeners to glean their own interpretations to find their personal resonance within its verses. But in the documentary The Day the Music Died, he finally unveiled the layers of inspiration behind his magnum opus. He confirmed that the first verse indeed mourned Holly's tragedy, but added another poignant layer, a memory of being at school, observing the carefree joy of other children while he was enveloped in the crushing loneliness and depression following his father's death. Furthermore, he clarified that the jester was not Dylan, And, perhaps most strikingly, that the king who's wearing a thorny crown was not Elvis, but none other than Jesus Christ. This revelation imbues the song with a profound spiritual dimension, transforming a secular lament into a subtle yet powerful acknowledgement of ultimate suffering and kingship. He did, however, confirm that the Lenin referenced in the song alludes to both John Lennon, the iconic Beatle, and Vladimir Lenin, the first head of the Soviet government, weaving together threads of political and cultural upheaval. The remaining verses of the song subtly allude to the tumultuous Vietnam War and the tragic assassinations of John F. Kennedy and his brother Robert in the 1960s. By the time MacLean penned this sprawling narrative, it is clear he had grown deeply disillusioned with life, and the lyrics, in their profound sadness and intricate symbolism, perfectly encapsulate that sentiment, creating a poignant reflection of a nation's and a man's spiritual weariness. When Green Day exploded onto the music scene in 1994 with their debut album, Dookie, their unique blend of punk energy and pop sensibility took the world by storm. Overnight, they became a sensation, a new voice for a generation grappling with angst and identity. The band's genesis lies in the unlikely friendship forged between frontman Billy Joe Armstrong and bassist Michael Ryan Pritchard, affectionately known as Mike Dirnt, during their grade school years in California. Both shared an ardent devotion to punk pioneers like the Ramones and the Dead Kennedys, their spirits resonating with the raw, rebellious energy of the genre. In 1987, they joined forces with drummer Sean Hughes, forming Sweet Children, a precursor to the legendary band they would become. Hughes's departure led to the arrival of Al Sobrante, and their reputation quickly soared within the vibrant San Francisco Bay Area punk scene. Their album, 39 Smooth, garnered them significant attention, but it was Sobrante's replacement by Trey Cool that solidified the iconic lineup. Dookie, released in 1994, marked their meteoric rise. It garnered them a Grammy Award for Best Alternative Music Performance, selling over 15 million copies to date, a monumental achievement that cemented their place in rock history. However, their subsequent albums, Insomniac and Nimrod, struggled to replicate the same commercial success, a common trajectory for bands experiencing sudden fame. Yet, Green Day, with a resilience born of their punk roots, bounced back with their 2000 release, Warning. A 4-year hiatus followed, a period of introspection and artistic re-evaluation, culminating in the release of American Idiot in 2004. This album marked a profound shift in their artistic direction, embracing a more overtly political stance, a bold move that resonated deeply with audiences. Their efforts were rewarded with another Grammy in 2005, and the powerful Boulevard of Broken Dreams earned them Record of the Year the following year. While Boulevard was undoubtedly the album's most recognized track, devout Green Day fans often consider Wake Me Up When September Ends to be a masterpiece, a song that, despite its seemingly melancholic beauty, harbors a profoundly dark and personal message often missed by casual listeners. American Idiot was conceived as a concept album, a sprawling narrative told through the eyes of Saint Jimmy, a suburban Jesus grappling with complex themes of identity and the elusive nature of the American dream. Wake Me Up When September Ends, one of the album's most somber tracks, initially eluded many fans in its true meaning. Its versatility led to its use in various contexts, as an anthem for peace in war-torn regions, and as a poignant tribute to the victims of Hurricane Katrina. However, the song's true essence is far more personal, deeply rooted in Armstrong's own profound tragedy. His father passed away on September 10, 1982, an event that understandably scarred his young life. After the funeral, a devastated Armstrong retreated to his room, locking himself away from the world. When his mother, a picture of maternal concern, gently knocked on his door, asking if he was all right, his raw, unadulterated grief found voice in a simple, haunting plea. Wake me up when September ends. This profound moment of childhood anguish became the genesis of the song's lyrics, transforming a private sorrow into one of Green Day's most enduring and emotionally resonant tracks. A powerful reminder of the enduring impact of loss and the way artists transmute personal pain into universal anthems. The glittering facade of being a famous musician often obscures the less glamorous and at times terrifying realities of the profession. While it undoubtedly surpasses the monotony of a desk job, the drawbacks are significant. Adulation, while initially intoxicating, can morph into a dangerous obsession, leading to potentially terrifying situations. Gwen Stefani, the luminous frontwoman of No Doubt, learned this harrowing lesson after the band's meteoric rise to success. One of her most vibrant and seemingly upbeat songs, Spiderwebs, subtly chronicles this unsettling experience, serving as a cautionary tale for those who inhabit the public eye. When No Doubt first emerged in the early 1990s, their unique fusion of ska and new wave pop often confounded listeners. It wasn't until the release of their third album, Tragic Kingdom, in 1995, that they achieved widespread mainstream success and unprecedented album sales. Yet, their journey began with humble origins. Stephanie and her brother Eric, driven by a shared passion for music, founded the group in 1986 during their teenage years, initially calling themselves Applecore. During a performance with their friend John Spence, they caught the discerning eye of bassist Tony Kanal, who swiftly became the fourth member. Kanal and Stefani's professional collaboration soon blossomed into a 7-year romantic relationship. The band faced an early tragedy with the passing of Spence the following year, prompting a hiatus. However, fueled by a profound belief that Spence would have wanted them to continue their musical journey, they regrouped. Tom Dumont joined, followed by Adrian Young on drums the next year, solidifying the classic lineup. Their self-titled debut album was released in 1992, followed by the Beacon Street Collection 3 years later, which saw more success than their initial offering. However, it was Tragic Kingdom, released later that same year, that propelled them to unprecedented fame. Tragic Kingdom not only soared onto the charts, but has since sold millions of copies worldwide, largely thanks to the phenomenal success of the single Don't Speak and its accompanying music video, which showcased Stefani's distinctive and trend-setting fashion style. Stephanie has since carved out an immensely successful solo career, yet for many, she remains indelibly linked to No Doubt, the band that brought a strangely exhilarating new sound to the music industry. Among the tracks on Tragic Kingdom, Spiderwebs often surprises listeners with its hidden depth. On first listen, its infectious melody and upbeat tempo suggest a light-hearted tune. However, the lyrics unveil a far darker narrative. The song's chilling true meaning is revealed in the very first verse, as Stefani sings, "You think that we connect, that the chemistry is correct, your words walk right through my ears, presuming I like what I hear." These lines immediately dispel any illusion of a carefree, happy-go-lucky song, revealing instead a narrative of a relentless stalker, a delusional individual unwilling to accept rejection. Their perception of reality so warped that they disregard the victim's desperate pleas for solitude. These lyrics sprang from Stefani's deeply personal and terrifying experience with a fan who developed an obsessive fixation, becoming convinced that their feelings were reciprocated. Despite repeated and unequivocal rejections, the fan persisted, trapping Stefani in a psychological prison. She vividly likens the experience to being a helpless insect caught in a spider's web, ensnared and unable to escape. Despite her desperate need to flee the terrifying situation, a harrowing testament to the dark side of fame and unchecked obsession. For Whom the Bell Tolls, by Metallica, while perhaps not the band's most overtly brutal track, possessed a relatively slower tempo compared to their other contemporaneous releases. This deceptive pacing led many listeners, unfamiliar with its lyrical depth, to overlook the profoundly dark subject matter it explores. Metallica, unequivocally the best-selling metal band of all time, is frequently hailed as one of the greatest rock bands to ever exist. With over 163 million albums sold worldwide, their place in music history as titans of their genre is unassailable. They are widely credited as the progenitors of the speed metal genre, alongside pioneers like Slayer and Anthrax, and are equally lauded as one of the most influential bands in the thrash metal genre, despite their sound gradually evolving towards a less aggressive style over the decades. The band's formidable foundation was laid in 1981 by frontman and rhythm guitarist James Hetfield and drummer Lars Ulrich. Their debut album was released in 1983, but it was their sophomore effort, Ride the Lightning, released the following year, that truly sent shockwaves through the metal scene. This album is frequently cited by many Metallica fans as their personal favorite, marking a pivotal moment in the band's artistic development. It was the first time Hetfield fearlessly tackled complex social and political issues within his lyrics, and this lyrical maturity, combined with the blistering speed of most of the songs on the release, propelled the band onto an unstoppable trajectory of success. However, their relentless ascent was tragically interrupted in 1986 during their tour in Sweden, where they were promoting their seminal album, Master of Puppets. While on the road in their tour bus, the vehicle tragically hit a patch of black ice, skidded violently, and overturned, claiming the life of bassist Cliff Burton, who was not only a bandmate, but Hetfield's closest friend. The remaining members, utterly devastated, were convinced this was the irrevocable end of the band. Yet, after a period of profound grief and reflection, they bravely chose to press on, recruiting Jason Newsted as Burton's replacement. While Newsted's relationship with Hetfield was often contentious, their collective resolve propelled them to unimaginable heights of success. Newsted made his debut on the And Justice for All album, a release famously marred by the almost inaudible presence of his bass, a deliberate choice by Hetfield and Ulrich. Nevertheless, the subsequent release of their self-titled album, universally known as the Black Album, launched them into the upper echelons of global fame. This monumental success was largely attributed to their embrace of a more mainstream metal sound and, controversially for some die-hard fans, the inclusion of a power ballad, Nothing Else Matters, a stylistic departure they had never ventured into before. This shift alienated some long-standing fans who longed for the heavier, more aggressive sound of their earlier works, such as those found on the Ride the Lightning release. And it is from that pivotal album that For Whom the Bell Tolls hails, a song whose true meaning has surprised many who only knew its musical ferocity. The phrase, "For whom the bell tolls," was famously coined by Ernest Hemingway in his novel of the same name. Metallica adopted this powerful idiom as the title for one of their most iconic songs. While the accompanying music is undeniably intense and far from easy listening, the lyrics reveal a narrative far darker and more profound than casual fans might imagine. Those who have immersed themselves in Hemingway's masterpiece will immediately recognize the song's narrative, which meticulously follows 5 soldiers in the throes of the Spanish Civil War. These brave souls make a defiant stand against their fascist enemies, fully cognizant that their goal is futile, their lives likely to be extinguished before the next sunrise. Yet, they stand firm, unwavering in their resolve, and in the end, all succumb to the brutal realities of war, fighting with every fiber of their being. This poignant narrative profoundly highlights Hetfield's contemplation at the time, the stark and horrifying futility of war, and by extension, the ephemeral nature of life itself. The song, therefore, transcends mere metal. It becomes a powerful, almost spiritual, meditation on sacrifice, defiance, and the ultimate, inevitable toll of human conflict. Most artists and bands, once they discover their musical niche, tend to remain within the confines of that genre for the entirety of their careers. However, Bonnie Raitt defies this convention. Her musical tapestry is woven with diverse threads, encompassing country, rock, blues, and rhythm and blues, a testament to her eclectic artistry. Raitt was raised in Los Angeles within the Quaker tradition, a faith known for its emphasis on peace and social justice, principles that would later shape her public persona. Performance was in her blood. Her father, John Raitt, was a celebrated Broadway musical star, renowned for his iconic roles as Billy Bigelow in Carousel and Curly in the original cast of Oklahoma. Bonnie's journey into the music industry began after she decided to leave Radcliffe College in Cambridge, choosing instead to dedicate herself to songwriting. She quickly mastered the slide guitar, an instrument that would become her signature, and soon released 3 studio albums, all steeped in the traditional blues style. It wasn't until the early 1970s that she began to subtly infuse pop elements into her compositions, a stylistic evolution that led to her first hit single, a cover of Del Shannon's timeless Runaway. Raitt was, and remains, an outspoken advocate for her political convictions, famously co-founding Musicians United for Safe Energy, a group dedicated to raising awareness about the dangers of nuclear power. However, with success came its shadow. In the 1980s, Bonnie found herself grappling with the debilitating grip of alcoholism. Her career, once ascendant, began to decline, entering a period of spiritual and professional wilderness. But like a phoenix rising from the ashes, Raitt experienced a profound resurgence in 1990 with the release of the album Nick of Time, a title that, in retrospect, seems divinely inspired given her personal struggles. This album earned her a Grammy Award for Best Female Rock Vocal Performance, a powerful testament to her resilience and renewed artistry. Her success continued unabated the following year with her 11th studio album, Luck of the Draw, which featured the poignant song, I Can't Make You Love Me. The track reached number 18 on the US charts and achieved similar success in New Zealand, Canada, the Netherlands, and Australia. The haunting piano parts on the song were provided by another legendary musician, Bruce Hornsby, adding another layer of artistry to what many consider a classic, despite it never breaking into the top 10. I Can't Make You Love Me was penned by the prolific songwriting duo Mike Reid and Alan Shamblin, who have collaborated with a pantheon of famous musicians, including Willie Nelson, Winona Judd, and Dolly Parton. On first listen, the song often appears to be a typical love song. However, its deeper meaning is far more melancholic, dealing with the harsh and often agonizing reality of unrequited love. The genesis of the track came from a truly unexpected source. At the time, Shamblin and Reid were residing in Nashville, already established songwriters who had penned hits for other renowned country musicians. They had both forged formidable reputations, with several of their compositions gracing the country charts. Their paths crossed at the Austin City Limits Music Festival, where a swift friendship blossomed. After a year of fruitful collaboration, they were approached with the request to write I Can't Make You Love Me, a song specifically slated for Bonnie Raitt. The catalyst for the song's creation came to Mike Reid one day while he was perusing a Nashville newspaper. He read a heart-wrenching article about a man living under a bridge in downtown Nashville. His estranged wife, having discovered his plight, tracked him down. However, instead of offering solace or assistance, she took him to court and filed for divorce. Amidst the painful proceedings, the man was quoted as uttering a phrase that resonated deeply with Reid. You know, you just can't make a woman love you. This profound statement perfectly encapsulated the agony of loving someone who simply does not reciprocate those feelings. It was immediately decided that Bonnie Raitt, with her soulful voice and empathetic delivery, was the ideal artist to perform the track. This decision proved to be an inspired one, as Raitt's rendition imbued the song with a raw, emotional vulnerability that transformed it into an enduring anthem for anyone who has ever experienced the profound pain of unrequited affection, a testament to the universal human experience of love and loss. Alanis Morissette, a name synonymous with raw emotion and lyrical honesty, needs no introduction to aficionados of pop and alternative rock. Her monumental ascent to global fame began with the release of her debut album, Jagged Little Pill, in 1995, a record that resonated deeply with a generation starved for authenticity. Since then, her career has flourished, and she continues to tour extensively, a testament to her enduring artistic power. Her musical journey began at a remarkably early age. She started piano lessons at 6, and by 9, she was already composing her own songs. The following year, she made her television debut on the Nickelodeon show You Can't Do That on Television, carefully saving the money she earned to fund her first song recording. By the age of 14, she had released 2 dance pop albums, Alanis and Now Is the Time, earning her the prestigious Juno Award for the Most Promising Female Vocalist of the Year. However, her teenage music career eventually waned, and after graduating from high school, she redirected her focus towards more serious and introspective music. She relocated to Los Angeles, a mecca for aspiring musicians, where she began working with the renowned songwriter and producer Glenn Ballard. This pivotal collaboration led to her signing with Maverick Records, a formidable label at the time, operating as a joint venture between Warner Music Group, Guy Oseary, and the iconic Madonna. The song You Ought to Know became an instant, visceral hit upon the album's release. It narrated the searing tale of a woman deeply in love with a man who had promised eternal devotion, only for him to abandon her for another, shattering her heart and sending her world into a dizzying spiral of betrayal. It is widely believed that the incandescent lyrics are a direct response to her tumultuous relationship with comedian Dave Coulier, a relationship that spanned from 1992 to 1994. Jagged Little Pill achieved colossal success, selling an astounding 16 million copies in the US alone. It also garnered Morissette 4 coveted Grammy Awards: Album of the Year, Best Rock Album, Best Rock Song, and Best Female Rock Vocal Performance, cementing her status as a formidable force in the music industry. You Ought to Know was, by far, the album's most popular track, yet the album also contained another song, You Learn, which initially seemed almost whimsical, but, upon closer inspection, harbored a darker, more profound message. You Learn grapples with the harsh realities of life and the myriad obstacles we encounter daily. While most of us inevitably learn from these issues and mistakes, the lesson, however valuable, does not erase the feelings of failure and betrayal that are an intrinsic part of the human experience. The song's lyrics are deeply rooted in Morissette's personal experiences, many of which were unpleasant and even terrifying. The night before her scheduled meeting with Madonna after signing with Maverick Records, she was walking through the streets of Los Angeles, her backpack clutched tightly to her back. Within it resided the precious music and lyrics for You Ought to Know, a treasure she guarded fiercely. En route to a store to purchase running shoes, she was suddenly confronted by a man brandishing a firearm who demanded all her possessions. In a moment of quick thinking and instinct, she instinctively lay down on her backpack, protecting her invaluable work before handing over her purse and wallet. Fortunately, the robber's impatience prevented him from demanding the backpack, a theft that would have been a catastrophic setback for her burgeoning career. However, this was not the last time she would fall victim to such a harrowing experience. In 2017, while vacationing in Brentwood, California, her home was burglarized, with thieves making off with approximately $2 million worth of jewelry. Luckily, she was not present at the time, sparing her a direct confrontation with the intruders. These experiences, though harrowing, undoubtedly infused her music with a raw, authentic vulnerability that resonated deeply with her audience, turning personal trauma into universal artistic expression. No true admirer of the Beach Boys would ever describe them as a dark band. Their music, a sun-drenched symphony of harmonies, typically evokes images of light-hearted fun, focusing on the quintessential Southern California lifestyle: surfing, romance, and cars. Their very first album, released in 1961, was aptly titled Surf and Safari, and featured their inaugural single, Surfin', a perfect encapsulation of their early sound. While their initial sound was often described as unpolished, their infectious melodies and optimistic spirit quickly garnered them a massive fan base. Since their inception, they have been indelibly associated with sun, surf, and endless summer fun. However, a lesser-known and decidedly unnerving connection exists between the Beach Boys and one of the most infamous serial killers in American history, Charles Manson. The sinister thread between them began in 1968 when Dennis Wilson, the band's drummer, picked up 2 female hitchhikers in San Francisco. He dropped them off at their accommodation, which happened to be the Spahn Ranch, the notorious haunt of Charles Manson and his family cult members. These 2 women were integral members of Manson's bizarre and deeply disturbing family. According to accounts from some cult members, Manson possessed a strange, almost hypnotic charisma that captivated Wilson, further solidifying his authority in the eyes of his followers. The two men, despite their vastly different worlds, immediately formed an unusual bond. Wilson, drawn in by Manson's strange allure, decided to stay at the ranch for a while that day. They spent hours listening to music, indulging in illicit substances, and engaging in deep conversation. During this time, Manson, ever the aspiring musician, eagerly presented Wilson with some of his own compositions. Just days after their initial encounter, the entire Manson family moved into Wilson's house, where illegal substances were plentiful and, by all accounts, a bizarre, codependent relationship flourished. Wilson, exhibiting an unsettling sense of responsibility, even provided them with food and took some of the cult members to see a doctor. As their friendship deepened, Wilson, perhaps out of a mixture of curiosity and misplaced camaraderie, agreed to let Manson record some of his songs at his home studio. However, a heated argument erupted between Manson and one of the producers, culminating in Manson inexplicably producing a sharpened blade, seemingly out of thin air. This chilling display brought their volatile friendship to an abrupt and terrifying end. The family was immediately ordered to vacate Wilson's house. While their cohabitation ceased, Manson and Wilson would still occasionally encounter each other. Wilson, however, had developed a peculiar fondness for one of Manson's songs, a blues-style track titled "Cease to Exist." He convinced Manson to allow the Beach Boys to record it, a decision that would have unforeseen and ultimately tragic consequences. Manson agreed, but on the explicit condition that the song would remain unaltered in any way. For his composition, he received some money and a motorcycle. However, the Beach Boys, against Manson's express wishes, decided to transform the bluesy original into a pop-style song, renaming it "Never Learn Not to Love." Upon discovering this betrayal, Manson's rage was incandescent. Days later, a single piece of ammunition was ominously delivered to Wilson's house. Manson then reportedly uttered a chilling warning to Wilson: "Every time you look at it, I want you to think how nice it is that your kids are still safe." This thinly veiled threat elicited a violent and defiant response from Wilson, who reportedly grabbed Manson by the head and threw him to the ground before physically assaulting him. It became clear that Wilson would not be intimidated by Manson's malevolent presence, though it is unknown whether his opinion shifted after learning of Manson's horrific crimes the following year, crimes that forever stained the innocence of the 1960s and cast a chilling shadow over the seemingly carefree world of the Beach Boys. Bruce Springsteen, born in Freehold, New Jersey, in 1949, was raised within the devout traditions of Catholicism alongside his two siblings. Yet, from an early age, a rebellious spirit simmered within him, a natural inclination towards defiance that soon found its true calling in the raw, untamed power of rock music. As an adult, he honed his craft performing with various bar bands, but an undeniable urge for independent expression led him to pursue a solo career. His audition for John Hammond Sr., a legendary talent scout, proved pivotal. Hammond was immediately captivated by Springsteen's singular voice and compelling guitar playing. This led to a coveted signing with Columbia Records, and in 1973, he released two seminal albums, Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey and the Wild, The Innocent, and the E Street Shuffle. These early works were deeply influenced by the rich tapestry of folk rock, blues, and soul, showcasing Springsteen's innate ability to effortlessly transition from blistering, fast-paced anthems to more serene, melodic tones, a versatility that immediately set him apart from his contemporaries. The year 1975 marked a seismic shift with the release of his third album, Born to Run, a masterful fusion of folk and rock and roll, clearly inspired by the dramatic, operatic stylings of artists like Roy Orbison. It was an instant, resounding success, propelling Springsteen into the national consciousness. In the very week of its release, he graced the covers of both Time and Newsweek magazines, an unprecedented feat for a musician. He embarked on an exhaustive 3-year tour, solidifying his reputation as a mesmerizing live performer before releasing Darkness on the Edge of Town in 1978. International success followed in 1980 with the single Hungry Heart, signaling his burgeoning global appeal. Despite his growing fame, Springsteen often clashed with the record label's marketing and public relations departments, stubbornly refusing to compromise his artistic integrity for commercial gain. His live shows had, by this point, become legendary, some stretching to an epic 4 hours, a testament to his boundless energy and deep connection with his audience. Springsteen's unparalleled ability to engage with his fellow musicians and the rapturous crowd endeared him to millions, and his fan base expanded at an exponential rate. However, it was in 1984 that he truly became a household name with the release of the iconic album Born in the USA. 7 of the album's tracks became hit singles, and Springsteen was swiftly hailed as one of the foremost singer-songwriters of his generation, a voice for the working class and the disillusioned. To this day, the album's title track remains his most recognizable and frequently played song. Yet, many remain unaware of the profound and often somber message embedded within its lyrics. It is commonly played at 4th of July celebrations, football matches, and was even infamously referenced by Ronald Reagan during one of his 1984 presidential campaign speeches, mistakenly hailed as a patriotic anthem. Even in modern times, a significant number of listeners, including some of Springsteen's most ardent fans, believe the song celebrates the privilege of being born in the USA, viewing it as a triumphant ode to American opportunity. However, this popular interpretation is a profound misreading of the song's true intent. The fact is, Born in the USA carries a far more depressing and scathing message, one that has eluded countless listeners over the years. It tells the harrowing tale of a small-town man conscripted into the military, who is sent to fight in the brutal and unforgiving Vietnam War. There, he endures the unspeakable horrors of combat, miraculously surviving the bloodshed to eventually return home. But his homecoming is not one of triumph. Instead, he faces a crushing reality. He has no future, and the government, for whom he risked his life, has no further use for him. He struggles to find work, his wartime experiences rendering him unemployable and disconnected from civilian life. He seeks assistance from his local Veterans Affairs office, only to be turned away empty-handed, his pleas for help falling on deaf ears. The song, therefore, is a searing indictment of the harsh realities faced by Vietnam War veterans upon their return, a raw, unflinching portrayal of their abandonment and the profound spiritual toll of their service. It is not an anthem of jingoistic pride, but a lament, a protest, a deeply empathetic portrayal of those who sacrificed everything only to be forgotten, a stark reminder that even in seemingly celebratory anthems, the truth can often be found beneath the surface, waiting to be unearthed by those willing to listen with an open heart and discerning spirit. A huge thank you to everyone who watched this episode to the end. Your support, like and subscribe, is very important to us. And don't forget to click the bell to always stay up to date with the latest news and not miss our new videos.